Do you like horror? Do you like the 80s? Do you like horror in the 80s? Then you'll love In Search of Darkness. It's a 4-hour plus epic retrospective on 80s horror. This critically acclaimed documentary features an incredible lineup of horror legends, including John Carpenter, Doug Bradley, Tom Atkins, even Elvira, Corey Taylor, and of course, Lloyd Kaufman. Oh, and there's even an interview with this one nerd, James. I think The Shining is probably the best performance in any horror film, maybe ever.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Click the link in the description to pre-order your copy today, and you can get your name in the credits, along with a poster, pin, postcard, and digital download of the film. But act fast because it's only available until midnight, the witching hour on Halloween. Waxwork. It's a fun 80s horror movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good stuff. It's kind of out there. It's a little bizarre, a little loose. It's a little bit comedy, a little...
Yeah, it's very 80s.
It's very 80s,
it's just
yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
Everything about it. The characters are just... They are like exactly what you would see in like a Madonna music video. The dude's just always wearing the suit jackets with a t-shirt underneath and smoking cigarettes, the women with the teased up like blonde hair and everything. It's the fucking 80s, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of a remake of a 1924 silent film called Waxwork, or Waxworks. I think the original was Waxworks, but it's kind of the same concept where it's a bunch of short stories told through wax figures.
Okay.
So I bet that's where they got the idea from. And also it shares some similarities with the 1933 Mystery of the Wax Museum and its 1953 remake, House of Wax.
Oh, okay.
With Vincent Price. So I think the elements that it really borrowed from both of those concepts was from the original Waxworks, it was about like wax figures coming to life, which happens in this movie. But then also with House of Wax, that one was more about dipping people in wax, like creating wax figures out of real people.
Oh, okay.
So that also kind of happens in this. So where people become part of the wax scene when they enter it. So it definitely took ideas of all those wax movies and made something else with it.
Yeah, so basically this guy owns a waxwork in the middle of a residential area, which is kind of weird because it's just in like a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And
like it looks like a house.
Yeah, it's weird. But so they go to this waxwork and, and there's a subplot of like the guy and the girl dating. It doesn't even matter because it doesn't even matter halfway through the movie. But when they go to this waxwork, if they go into like step over the rope, they are transported into the waxwork, and when they die, they are part of that waxwork now, or wax sculpture kind of thing.
And every wax scene has some kind of theme, like there's a werewolf and a vampire one. So it kind of uses that to create these little short movies inside of it almost, and pay homage to all the classic monsters.
Yeah, you can tell like they definitely had an appreciation for old monster movies, and just old movies in general, because I mean there's everything. There's, like you said, there's the werewolf, there's
like a Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera. There's the vampire, and there's a swashbuckling scene, a sword fight, and you wouldn't really think about that in an 80s horror movie, but there is like an outright, two dudes sword fighting, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's familiar faces in it. There's Zach Galligan from Gremlins.
Oh, okay.
Then there's David Warner in this, who I recognized as the scientist in Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah. To be honest with me, I couldn't place his voice at first, but I know him because of he's Ra's al Ghul in Batman the Animated Series.
Okay.
And he's the Loeb in Freakazoid. And his voice was like hitting me. I'm like, I've heard that voice like so many times. I know it was in something, and I had to look it up. And those were two cartoons I was super into. So like once I started seeing, I was like, oh, okay. I know who this guy is now. And also, you know, Secret of the Ooze, which I hadn't really watched until we went to the Mahoning Drive-In. I don't think the other time I watched Ninja Turtles 2 was literally like I was a child.
Yeah.
So I didn't even, I didn't know who the guy was back then. But seeing it now, seeing him in Waxwork and everything is pretty cool.
There's like this insane backstory about the 18 most evil people in the world and like combining their possessions with like some kind of sacrifice to bring about the end of the world.
Yeah.
So a lot of this movie got really wild, as it went on.
Yeah. The thing I didn't get was like, so their idea to take over the world is that the wax figures basically come to life.
I guess.
Yeah, which is like, okay, but they all basically like, are you telling me like the whole world's military and everybody couldn't kill 18 or 20 monsters that came out of a wax sculpture?
Yeah.
Like they would, there's no way they'd take over the world. I don't know. It just
like Plan 9. They resurrect 3 zombies.
Yeah, we have a vampire, like 80s Valley girl, a vampire guy, a werewolf, the Phantom of the Opera. What else was there? The Marquis de Sade.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there were more museums they just didn't get to yet. There was like
maybe that's true. Like maybe it resurrects every wax sculpture or something. But
yeah, it's a weird movie that it has like this comedic tone. It's really offbeat, and you're never sure exactly what kind of movie it's trying to be. Like a lot of the scenes with Zach Galligan, like in the house, like with the mom and everything. There's a lot of attention to detail. Like I remember a scene where he's talking to the mom, I think, at the table, and they're like, there's that like flower pot in between them, and they keep like turning to like look at each other. Like sometimes there's really good camera angles. There's a lot of like that rhythmic Edgar Wright style editing, where it's like really fast editing.
There's also his Nazi teacher or whatever.
Yeah, what was that all about?
It's like a joke that they make in the movie a couple times that like his teacher is a Nazi or like I guess an escaped Nazi that left Germany or something, but it's just weird. Like in the
it's really weird
because he breaks a couple times and does Nazi shit.
Yeah, I mean the only connection I got, I mean, maybe I missed part of it, but then they're talking about the 18 most evil people in the world. I think maybe that's one of them. Like they were trying. Maybe that's the idea that they're going to all like the evil like periods in history and like, but I didn't catch where that connected. I think I'm only thinking of that later now. I just remember those scenes as just being like really jarring. Like what the hell? I was like,
they have to show his regular life, I guess, or whatever, like his school life or something.
I mean, that's one hell of a thing to have a teacher like that.
Yeah, right. I guess in the 80s too. I have a question. Have you ever actually gone to like a Waxwork before?
Oh yeah, to the Madame Tussauds and all that type of stuff. Yeah,
I've never been to that one, but I went to one that's like this, where it's like a horror waxwork.
Oh yeah.
I went to one in like upstate New York, and I was a kid, and it was like, oh, House of Wax. So my dad's again. My dad bringing me to something that I was probably way more violent than I should have been allowed to see, but we went in and like. It was like, really horrific and realistic looking. And I'm just like, I think I was like 10. It was the year Super Street Fighter 2 came out. So whatever year that was, and then minus 1986 from that, and that's how old I was. But I remember like one of them was like a guy who had like cut out a woman's heart, and he's just holding the heart. And I remember like being really freaked out and not wanting to like go through, but I knew I had to walk through this place because... I'm halfway into it. I can't walk back out. It's like a line, like it's a one-way line. So I had to like just keep going. And I remember I had like nightmares because of that place. But it was like, oh, House of Wax. My dad is thinking like it's gonna be like Madame Tussauds, where it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and stuff. And it's like dude with face ripped off and like guy being eaten by zombies and stuff. And I was like 10.
I think the biggest highlight from this movie is the end when all the wax figures are coming to life, because then it's just all out madness.
Yeah.
It's just insane at that point. Like there's so many things going on and so many characters like fighting each other.
Yeah, that whole battle scene is crazy at the end.
Yeah.
There's a guy in it too with a wheelchair tank.
Yeah, I was so surprised when I saw that. I was just like, You gotta be kidding me. Like, how did I not see that?
I totally thought you would like, that was like the inspiration for it, was this guy in Waxwork. Or
So he's in a tank chair that is like, it looks a lot like the one in the Nerd movie.
Yeah.
And it's like almost painted the same color and everything. And you don't, there's so much going on in that scene that you don't really notice it that much. And I guarantee the reason why they cut around it so much is because they probably had as much trouble as I did operating it. Because, and you know, the one we had to have like 2 ropes from each end. One rope was to pull the treads so that it would make the treads spin. The other rope was to actually pull the whole thing to make it move.
Oh, man.
And we had to digitally take out all the ropes and everything. And this movie, you know, without the digital technology where it is today, I'm sure that they just had to cut around, because you never see, there's always like other monsters in front of it, or like they never pan down much to show like the bottom.
It looked like it was made of like cardboard, to be honest, like spray painted. Maybe a little bit thicker than cardboard, but it looked like they just literally took like particle board, painted it, and put it over him in a thing, because the back end is like floppy and stuff.
Yeah, but that was surprising seeing that.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember the first time I saw it. This is the second time I've seen it. The first time was sometime after the Nerd movie, but I still did not see the tank chair because that scene goes by so quick.
Yeah, if you like look away and come back, you'll miss it. It's pretty much like that.
Yeah, I was like pausing it, being like, wait, I need a good look at that thing. Are you serious? Is that a fucking tank chair?
And it kind of comes out of nowhere too, because they introduce that character as someone who I guess knew the guy's grandpa, and then also Jenkins, who is the butler, the main character's butler, comes in at the end to help him out with the battle and everything, and they get into this insane battle between the wax sculptures and like 100 other people that just rush in and start fighting. Which the one thing about this movie. There's 2 things. One is the ending where the house finally explodes, and they use a really good miniature of the house to make the house explode. But there's one shot where they like must have just taken a picture of the house and cut out the windows and put a horrible like fire filter behind it. Like it was digital and it looked real bad. But what are the police gonna think? I like to always think like after this movie ends, you know, because now there's this burnt down house, so in that town, someone's gonna have to respond to that, and then they find like skeletons of a guy, a tank chair, a werewolf.
Maybe we'll have to watch.
The Marquis de Sade's DNA is there for some reason. Like, what is going on in this place?
We have to watch Waxwork 2 then. Maybe they answer it, because there is a Waxwork 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
If it's about the investigation into this, into the original Waxwork, then I'll watch it. But if it's a shit sequel, then that movie can suck it.
Yeah. I mean, that's usually why I avoid sequels.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's goofy and 80s-y, and it's definitely worth watching.
Move over, Vincent Price. My favorite House of Wax has Paris Hilton in it.